Alright, so this is Mike. So one of the the good things that are going on with your stroke here is you have pretty good extension and your body position is really pretty good. Your your head, your hips, torso are all more or less in a line, so that's a good streamline. The one big thing I see with the above water portion of the stroke is that you're entering the water like just in front of your head or almost next to your head. That's where your hand enters. So that sort of forces you to constrict a little bit. So later on in the filming, you reach a little farther forward before you enter the water, and I think it looks a lot better. It is smoother, and one of the things with that is that you have to force your hand through less water to extend forward. On some of the strokes, your head dives under the water a little deeper than I'd like. So you want your head to remain very level through the water. The water could be hitting the crown of your head, forehead, any spot, but as long as it doesn't change much. So sometimes what happens is your head is pushing down under the water 2 or 3 inches. Basically, that forces you to put more surface area through the water, or more resistance. So viewed from this angle, you get an idea of 2 things: your rotation, which is pretty good, but you can improve that by, when you reach forward, you really want that forward shoulder to extend as far past your face, your chin, as far as possible. You really feel your lats stretch out when you get a really good extension. And here you can also see how your head kind of goes under the water on some of them. The other thing you can look for, though, is are your hips coming out of the streamline, and they're not. So that's good. That means you got pretty good flexibility through your back. So that's always something I'm looking at. So here, asked you to swim a little faster. So this is before we made any comments, and just had you swim at a faster effort, like a half-mile race pace swim. So you improved your or increased your turnover a little bit here. Fundamentally, the stroke is still the same as when you started. So one thing for you to do is going to be to watch some of the film at the end, and then come back and watch this. Alright, underwater. I know that was something we talked about before the lesson. So when you're reaching forward pretty well, you are reaching on some of these a little deeper than I would recommend, especially with that. They're both about even. So you're reaching forward and down slightly. The actual pull, or the catch, is very much a elbow slip, or elbow leading the stroke. So you're catching a little bit with your hand, but your hand and forearm kind of, well, they never go vertical relative to the bottom of the pool. So you're not getting the full leverage that you could out of your stroke with each pull. The biggest thing is to get your hand and forearm to go vertical relative to the bottom of the pool. So that, imagine you're climbing a wall. To pull yourself up the wall, you need to anchor your hands on top of the wall and then pull yourself up, instead of dragging your hands or forearms along the wall. I believe this was catch-up drill. So you're doing a good job here. catch-up drill, the two main purposes. Really exaggerating your forward reach, your forward extension, and then part 2, working on a good catch. So you definitely had part 1 there, good reach forward. And here I think we were talking about, well, it's either catch-up drill, or I was asking you to try and have your hand enter a little farther forward. But that looks pretty good. Your underwater pull in this portion is still what I would call an elbow slip, but the above water portion is a lot smoother. Your head is staying pretty level here. We must have been talking about trying to reach a little farther forward before you enter the water. Alright, one arm drill. So with one arm drill, what I want you to do is really rotate through the stroke. So you're not really rotating too much, you're just kind of almost side stroking. So you want to reach forward as far as possible with that left arm and do a stroke. So it's okay to be slow on one arm drill. You just want to work on the technique behind it. Doing a better job here of rotating. So reach forward, full catch, full stroke, reach forward, breathe. One thing you're going to be able to do in training is actually watch what your strokes are doing. You can take a look at your arms and your forearms as you pull through the stroke and say, what am I doing here? This one is doggy paddle. So the goal with doggy paddle is just that first initial catch phase. And you're doing pretty good here. But you want to have that hand and forearm really tilt all the way down, all the way vertical relative to the bottom of the pool, or parallel to the rear wall of the pool, to get the best grip or leverage. Alright, this one I know we were talking about trying to get the hand and forearm more vertical, the high elbow catch, early vertical forearm. And we did talk about entering farther in front of your head. So you're doing good there. Now this looks quite a bit smoother than initially. So you pause it here, go back, watch the initial part. So you get two things going on. You're reaching forward really well. Your head is staying level, and you're getting a slightly better catch. So here you can see your hand is definitely getting the initiation of the catch. Forearm is not following through. You want your hand and forearm to stay almost as a unit. Body position is great. Your kick is fine. And extension is pretty good here. So the major thing for you is going to be improving that catch position, the high elbow catch. You will be able to get a little more out of your extension through flexibility training. I know you're swimming quite a bit, but when you swim, really work on reaching forward. Alright, so here's a series of stills. So that hand entered a little closer to the head than I'd recommend, and then nice reach forward though. Alright, so continuing with the reach, and you remember we talked about how you might be pausing just a little too much. So there you can see kind of gliding and pausing. And then hand starts to come down. Then the hand starts to do that catch position, but the forearm isn't going with it. So the forearm, your forearm here is rotated internally. You want the forearm to angle downward. At that